Hello, my name is Zoe Lockery, and for my rock artist biography assignment, I've chosen to do my research on the Arctic Monkeys.
Crawling back to you. Never thought I'd call and run. You like you, 'cause I always do.
And I chose this band primarily because of our module on the British invasion. I found it pretty interesting that rock artists in the United Kingdom during the 60s were largely influenced by their American counterparts. And so, since Arctic Monkeys have a pretty unique sound of their own, I was curious as to where that sound came from and what kind of influences they might have had. Who are the Arctic Monkeys? So the Arctic Monkeys are an English indie/alternative rock group comprised of Alex Turner, who is the lead vocalist and frontman of the group, Matt Helders on drums, Jamie Cook, the lead guitarist, and Nick O'Malley on bass. And there is a previous bassist who started with the group originally named Andy Nicholson, but I will get into that in just a moment. When and where were they born? So Alexander David Turner, aka Alex Turner, was born on January 6th, 1986 in Sheffield, United Kingdom, which is the fourth largest city in England. I do believe the rest of the band members are also born and raised in Sheffield. Alex was the only child of two teachers, his mother, Penny Turner, a German instructor, and his father, David Turner, a physics and music teacher. So Alex Turner was known in school as a quiet and clever child. He excelled in sports and took piano lessons from the early age of 8. So because of his father's background in music, he grew up exposed to all sorts of different records by the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, the Carpenters, the Beach Boys, and the Eagles. So his discipline in this area would eventually prepare him to become one of the most acclaimed artists in Britain. So how the Arctic Monkeys came about is an even more interesting story because Alex Turner met Matt Helders in elementary school, and they were longtime friends by the time they met ex-bassist Andy Nicholson in high school. And their musical influences at this time were rap artists such as Wu-Tang Clan, Dr. Dre, and of course, Outkast. In 2001, Alex Turner and his neighbor, Jamie Cook, both received guitars for Christmas, so the both of them would practice their guitars together and play together, and eventually the gang all kind of got together to rehearse. And a couple of years later, in 2003, they were playing local shows and handing out CDs, and it was just like that they began to accumulate this local following. Their fandom rose from a local to a national level in the first day and ages of social media, when fans uploaded their music to a MySpace page. And this is when their music really started to gain traction, especially with news outlets like BBC Radio, who would examine their music on air. And Arctic Monkeys is considerably one of the most notable British bands of the new millennium because they weren't signed to a label, and their content was completely homemade and was being circulated for free at the time. That year, they sold out a local music venue, the London Astoria, which is where they fielded offers from major record labels. In 2007, they signed with Domino Records and later released their debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. And their two singles, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor and When the Sun Goes Down, both topped the UK charts, and the album went gold in August of 2017. Later that spring, they released an EP titled Who the Fuck Are Arctic Monkeys and went on world tour And this is where temporary bassist Nick O'Malley replaced former bassist Andy Nicholson as a permanent member. I believe Andy Nicholson was just tired of the constant touring and kind of let Nick take over at that point, but I've read that they're all still very good friends. That fall, they received a series of awards, including the 2006 Mercury Prize, Best British Breakthrough at the Brit Awards, Best New Band at the NME Awards, and NME also made a bold assertion to say that the band's debut was one of the top 5 British albums to ever be released. So in April 2007 is when Favorite Worst Nightmares released, and all tracks on that album entered the top 200 of the UK single charts before unveiling their next album, Humbug, in August of 2009, which also went platinum in the United Kingdom. After playing another handful of shows in 2010, Arctic Monkeys took a short hiatus, and 2 years later in 2012 released a teaser track titled Are You Mine on their YouTube channel, indicating that a new album was on the way. So their next album, entitled AM, went platinum, of course, and featured Arctic Monkeys' probably most notable track in history among both British citizens and American citizens alike. Do I Want to Know, with over 657 million views. So as you just heard, that was the beginning riff to the infamous track. It was created on a 12-string guitar called the Vox Starstream. I also have a quote here from Alex Turner highlighting the initial inspiration for this song, which piggybacked off of Are You Mine and was created with R&B in mind. Following the supporting tour for AM, the band entered an extended hiatus until just last month, May of 2018, when they released Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, their 6th studio album with both a dramatic shift in sound and theme. And I would suggest, if you want to get a feel for what their new sound is like, checking out the track 4 out of 5 on that album. Arctic Monkeys' overall aesthetic, especially during the age of AM, acknowledges the rebellious rockabillys from the 1950s with formal dress to pompadours and leather. They have admitted to only recently thinking about stage details like the performance shown here, where they headlined the Glastonbury in 2013. And this is where they utilized stage effects and lights, and they've described their cocky yet swaggering stage presence as merely part of a persona to put on a great show for all the fans. Reflecting on what I've learned about Arctic Monkeys, I think the most shocking information for me was learning that all the band members have known each other pretty much since childhood, and their monumental success all derived from MySpace of all things. And now that I've researched their backgrounds and their history in the music industry, it's definitely safe for me to say that listening to their music now is a different experience for me. I would say even a much richer experience. I hope that you enjoyed my presentation, and all of my sources are cited here. Again, my name is Zoe Lockery, and thank you so much for watching.